What celebrity death hit you the hardest? A recent one that is freshest in my mind and hit me hard was Sean Locke. Although I was born and grew up in America, I fell in love with English comedy and panel shows at a relatively young age, and anytime Sean Locke appeared on an episode, I knew it was going to be a good time. The past couple years I frequently watched and rewatched 8 Out of 10 Cats Does Countdown, and man, did he cause so much laughter. The past half year or so I didn't keep up with newer episodes as much and didn't really see anything of the last season, and since I usually randomly watched episodes out of order on YouTube, never really noticed what other people did, that he was getting skinnier and more fragile. Cancer is no joke. When I found out he died, it came out of nowhere. It tore me up, having, to me, been so unexpected. Edit. I am sorry to all of you who have found out about this through my post. What helped me to cope with it was surprisingly watching his videos. His humor is so good that it cuts through the pain of his absence. Edit 2. It feels almost wrong to have received so many awards and my first Reddit Gold from breaking this news to a larger number of people, but thank you everyone, and certainly a testament to the impact his death had on so many people. If you are able, donate to Cancer Research UK or something local to your area/country in his honor. So glad to find someone else mentioned Sean. I'd been seeing him so regularly for so long that it was kind of like losing a friend, or maybe a funny uncle. My Cats Down viewing pattern was approximately the same, too, watching and rewatching episodes up until the last year or so. But the recent lull was only because when the stressors of 2020 became too much to cope with, putting on Cats Down was one of those reliable first moves to try and be distracted or maybe even have a bit of a laugh, and eventually I did have to switch shows. It was so funny, it was comforting, and often so because of Sean's humor. When my wife yelled out the headline saying he had died, we both assumed he'd been in an accident. But his death seemed to take so many in the UK by surprise that I presume he had been relatively successful at keeping his illness private. If that was his intention, I'm glad he was at least able to do that. As an interesting/morbid side note, during 2016, as a bunch of celebrities were dying, here on Reddit we started talking about it like it was a jinxed year, and there were many posts hoping that nothing bad would happen as the year ended. And then Carrie and her mom died and everyone was just like, fuck 2016. However, here is the interesting part, a bunch of people on Reddit were like, nope, not a big year for death, you all just think that because Carrie is a big deal. But it's the same hashtag of deaths on average as any year. Except, sometime in 2017 I think, some dude charted the number of celebrity deaths that made it to the front page of r/all, and 2016 was just about triple 2015 and 2014. So if anyone out there was feeling like 2016 just kicked your ass and then felt invalidated because somebody was like you imagined it, well, no, it really was bad. Hopefully someone with good Google foo will find that old post and link to it. It was kinda neat, in a morbid and depressing way. It was Anthony Bourdain for me too. My mum was a chef who loved to travel. She always instilled that adventurous go off the beaten path, speak to new people, order off menu thing in me. And here was a guy doing exactly that, but with a very similar sense of humor, loved to party and taste in music to me, so I just immediately related to him. I was watching Parts Unknown when I got the call to say my mum had passed away, so it took a real long time to be able to watch it again. In that time away from it I learned that he, like me, had struggles with mental health and addiction in his past. Very shortly after I was able to sit down and start watching it again, he killed himself. I learned through his online obituaries that our mothers both shared the same first name, 2. So yeah, I really don't pine for celebrity interaction or particularly mourn celebrities when they pass, but Tony's death hit me pretty hard. I'd give a lot to be able to buy him dinner and a beer and just talk about shit. I try to live by this quote ever since I first heard it. It was such a damn Bourdain thing to say, too. In his first couple books, it always shocked me how he worded things which were obviously normal to him, but those same things were basic building blocks that I missed growing up. I never even pondered half of what he taught me. I grew up poor with not many ears to talk to. Bourdain's magic was held in how he could talk to people from different backgrounds and cultures and make us all feel like he was speaking to us personally. I lost my father almost 20 years ago and my mother less than 2 years ago. I have so many questions and experiences that I want to tell them about. Anthony Bourdain helps me live through every day, whether it's directly from his words or through random seeds he's planted in my brain. 13 years ago I was hungry and sleeping in snowbanks off of Lake Superior. I had no vision of the future. Now I'm cooking international dishes and rolling sushi for people that have more money than I'll ever see in my bank account. Anthony's conscious avoidance of things that would easily deplete him and his vision. I dunno, I feel like he did that for us. For me and everyone like me. It feels way too passionate and personal for it to be a coincidence. I haven't been able to watch a Robin Williams movie since he died. I've lost a lot of people in my life, and usually handle death pretty well. But I dunno. I love movies. Movies were my escape from a horrible childhood that I barely remember, but I can remember my first movie, and which theater it was in. I remember my first movie at home. First movie on Laserdisc. I remember all the firsts, and I remember all the escapist moments that Robin Williams gave me. All the happy memories that I had, all the times I was able to escape, he was there to make me laugh. It was like losing my favorite uncle, and now I just can't see his face or hear his voice without being bummed out. The idea of him being gone is just so sad. He wrote songs like that, but I have to disagree with you when you say PPL didn't care. Jung Hyun was very vocal about his depression. He talked about it all the time on Blue Night Radio, and I'm sure he was actively getting help for it as well as getting support from his family and friends. Unfortunately, he couldn't win his battle against depression. He tried his best though. When I first heard about this, it hit me so hard and I was depressed for a while. I couldn't even listen to SHINA songs for a while and completely missed that comeback they had in 2018. The pandemic happened and I got more free time and saw they were having a comeback, so I started listening to them again and catching up on all their content that I missed since he passed. Still miss him a lot, but glad he existed. His artistry is still very much recognized in the K-pop industry, but I think what you're talking about is that it almost became taboo just to talk about him, which really sucked. Key even mentioned how much he hated the fact that it seemed like he wasn't allowed to talk about Jung Hyun, but now he does it freely as well as the other members, which I think is great. Also, they still incorporate lots of symbolism in their newer MVS that symbolizes Jung Hyun. SHINA is forever 5. I didn't really know who he was while he was alive, but after DJAM died, I read his Wikipedia entry. Jesus Christ, that guy had a sad life, drinking at 11, getting addicted to heavy drugs as a teen, getting kicked out of rehab, watching his father die of AIDS, attempting suicide, getting sober, turning his life around, becoming a huge success and surviving a plane crash only to relapse and die a year later at the age of 36. At the time of his death, he had 8 different drugs in his system and was lying beside a crack pipe and a bag of rocks. All this after years of sobriety. About a year prior to his death, LFO singer Rich Cronin did an amazing interview with Howard Stern. The unedited version in which he discusses getting sexually propositioned by his manager never appears on YouTube, but you can find it here. Rich was just another kid working at Blockbuster when he was discovered as a singer. The next thing you know, he's the front man of a hugely successful boy band that toured with the Backstreet Boys. He made millions of dollars. Unfortunately, almost all of it was stolen by his Svengali manager, Lou Pearlman. This happened around the same time the love of his life, Jennifer Love Hewitt, was cheating on him with 10 different guys. Pearlman is lucky he died before the Me Too movement was a thing, because he was a sexual predator who constantly tried to take advantage of the guys in NSYNC, LFO, and the Backstreet Boys. Lou finally went to prison for other white-collar crimes, but Rich never got back the millions of dollars Lou stole. Rich got leukemia twice but managed to beat it both times. The cancer drugs gave him a stroke and the radiation sterilized him. Then the cancer returned a third time and killed him at the age of 35. At the time of his death, Rich was back to working at Blockbuster. Dave Mirra was my fucking idol. I had a Dave Mirra Haro BMX bike growing up. I had his video games. I attended several games and even got to meet him a few times. I had several signed by him over the years. One time I even worked at an games event and drove him in a golf cart from the athlete's tent to the podium after he had won gold. He was super friendly and could get out of his ego after winning gold to chat with a fan as I drove him to the podium. When CTE and football was big in the news, some of Mirra's friends noticed that he was exhibiting all the symptoms. And not surprising, he'd taken quite a few massive blows to the head. So they sat him down and showed him the movie Concussion with Will Smith. He reportedly got up and left angrily / in tears mid-viewing. He realized he was slipping into an anger-fueled person, and he didn't want that to be the person who his daughters remembered. So he loaded up a gun, went to say keep being awesome to his godson, and shot himself in his truck in their driveway. Fuck man. I'm in tears just typing it. It's just so fucking sad. One of the greatest athletes of a generation, hugely gregarious, and felt he had to end his life early to not become a monster. I guess it worked. No one has anything bad to say about Dave Mirra. Islam does not tolerate terrorism, nor does it promise any rewards. Example, 7 virgins in heaven for suicide bombers. Suicide is a highly frowned upon act to do in Islam. Hijab or covering of the face is an act of worship and not controlling of the person's wife. The 4 wives rule is only applicable under conditions where the first wife approves due to factors like being unable to conceive, etc. For the wife to stay at home and look after the family while the husband works is an act of culture, not religion. A woman is allowed to work if she wants to. Best example is the Prophet Muhammad's first wife was a wealthy businesswoman long before she got married to him, and keep all the money she earns to herself. It is up to her to share the money with her husband if she wants to, whereas a man has to share at least 15%, unsure of this percentage, of his earnings by monthly allowance for her own spending. Islam advocates equal rights to women and is one of the first religions in the world to allow a woman to consent to being married and freely supports the divorce of the marriage should she wish it. Jihad simply means struggle, and there are 2 types of jihad, greater and lesser jihad. Lesser jihad is a call to defensive war when being attacked. It can be a call for offensive war, but those conditions are very specific and can only be called by the Amir al-Mu'minin, leader of the Muslims, which we do not have. The greater jihad is the struggle against yourself, to overcome your inner demons and carnal desires that appease your lower animal self and conscientiously appease your higher angelic self. The Prophet Muhammad, literally predicted everything happening in the world now to the point that it gives me goosebumps. And no, these are not prophecies PPL could or would willfully fulfill. Science and Islam go hand in hand and pose no contradiction to each other. There is no true Islamic country with a just leader. Most Muslim countries have Western stooges as their leaders that oppress their PPL and crush dissent. We believe Jesus, PBUH, is the Messiah. We also have a John the Baptist-like figure who will come before Jesus to set the stage, so to speak, just like the real John the Baptist did. We believe the Antichrist will be Jewish and will be readily accepted by most Jewish PPL as their awaited Moshiach because they lost their way when they rejected Jesus, PBUH. The Antichrist will also be heavily supported by the Jews of Isfahan in Iran. We believe in three forms of creation: humans made from earth, angels made from pure, heavenly, light, and jinn made from fire. Angels do not have free will and must obey God without question. Jinn and humans have free will and in that way are superior to angels. We also share this earth with the jinn, but they can see us and we can't see them. There are also way more jinn than there are humans. Some jinn are good, some are bad. Some are Christian, Jewish, Buddhist or atheist, and some are Muslim. Some are bad and some are good. Bad jinn are called devils. The devil, aka Satan aka Iblis aka Azazel, his actual name, was a jinn and not a fallen angel, according to us. Islam is not an easy religion to follow and takes actual devotion to do it right. Islam is rooted in peace, and advocates for the minorities and downtrodden. It's unfortunate that Islam has now been defined by ISIS and Boko Haram. 17% of the world is Muslim. If it truly taught us to kill non-Muslims, nothing could stop us. Muslims led the world in the arts, science, and technology from approximate 700-1900 CE, give or take a few centuries. Islam is not the only path to God/heaven. A story we have of Jesus, PBUH, in the Quran not mentioned in the Bible is how when he was a young boy, God taught him the secret of life. So, he would often go down to the riverbanks, make clay figurines of birds, and then blow life into them. This is in addition to healing the blind, curing the lepers, walking on water, foretelling the future, creating food from nothing, etc. etc. Jesus, PBUH, is mentioned more in the Quran than Muhammad, SAW. Jesus, PBUH, spoke as an infant and defended the purity of his mother to their PPL. We also believe Jews were once God's chosen PPL. Then they f***ed up and now they're not. Islam has no specific clothing or hairstyle, and Islam does not equal Arabs or Middle East. Islam is a universal religion and you don't have to wear a certain clothing or change your physical appearance or name in order for you to become a Muslim. If you believe in Allah the Greatest and His Messenger Muhammad peace be upon him and all Allah's messengers peace be upon them, and lived with good values, morals, and you start striving to become a better human being that has a mission on this earth to get to know Allah the Greatest and to evolve spiritually and also to evolve in the different aspects of life, that's what the real Islam is really about. Do not judge the religion Islam based on people's actions. Take the Quran and read it and turn your mind on, that's the most important thing. Do not listen to those who talks just about what you should wear etc. Because a lot, and I mean a lot, of people who are giving Islam a false image are following traditions, not religion. They are following old generations' lifestyles and costumes, traditions etc. They're just stuck in a long gone era while refusing any spiritual or intellectual evolution or whatsoever, and they think that this is what Islam is about, and that's what the media reports to the rest of the world. Lots of opinions, might as well say mine too. As a Gen Z LMFAO, modern-day Muslims and Muslims 1400 years ago when it was starting to spread is obviously going to be very very different, and I know many Islamophobes will use the actions of the old Muslims to justify their opinions. You can't, because today if I saw another Muslim burning someone because they were gay, I would call the cops and help the gay person. Why? Because times have fucking changed, and more than punishing others and criticizing others, you can choose be respectful and kind to others. The Prophet, PBUH, wasn't a pedophile, stop it. I literally live in a Muslim country, I never heard of something like that, it's sick and twisted. Extremists like the Taliban and ISIS absolutely don't represent Islam or even an inch of Islam in any way. They are extremists, and practicing Muslim hate them too, maybe bond over that. Hijab is not oppression. However, there are some countries that will force the women in that country to wear the hijab even if she doesn't want to, and that's wrong, and by wrong I mean 1400 years ago you could punish him wrong, because wearing the hijab should only be for Allah and Allah only. Although the hijab does signify modesty, not wearing one doesn't make me an indecent Muslim. It just means I chose not to wear one. Maybe I will one day when I have such a connection to my fault and religion, and even then I will choose not to. It's literally up to me.